All right. So we got cut off. We were discussing assessments, and I had just discussed my exit slips and what a massive failure they were. So,
well, see, I used, because we both had first grade, I used a green ball method, and I'm going to do this right here because the ball was pretty big.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it's a big ball.
Okay.
Like one of the beach balls.
Oh, yeah.
A big green ball. And, green light means your time to talk. It's your go. Everyone else is quiet. And we all sat in a circle on the floor, me, the students, and we passed the ball around. And the person that had the ball would say one thing that they learned, And I felt like that was very awesome. Like, I didn't get any repeats, and I was really worried about that. But they did really well, and I really think they enjoyed it. I tried to make something fun that I would still be able to assess them with.
See, I should have done something like that, because I gave each student a think sheet. Well, I gave them 2, and I just told them, I passed it out, and then I was like, okay, you're going to cut out the picture. And the words were in a text box, on the other sheet, and so I think that they thought that they were both pictures. And so I had some students cutting out the words, some cutting out the pictures, some just looking at me, and so that was really frustrating. And so I wish that I would have either just passed out the sheet for them to cut first and have them cut them out, and then put them on the corner of their desk, and then pass out the second one, and then say, okay, now you're going to glue. But instead of passed out both, and so it was confusing. Or I could have went and cut it out before, which would have taken some time, to plan to cut them out and stuff. But I wish I would have done something different, because second grade, I just felt like that wasn't the best way to assess the second grade.
Or maybe, you said you passed them out and then gave instructions. Maybe the instructions should have come first.
Yeah,
they
right.
them in front of them.
Yeah, maybe, because they were like, oh, I have something!
They're not listening anymore.
Picture, the sheet with the picture, and this is the picture sheet. This is the sheet you need to cut from.
That's true. I could have just had more explicit explanation of what they needed to do.
So, because as adults, we understand a lot of things that are implied, but as first and second graders,
you have to talk everything out.
Tell them every single thing.
Yeah.
But I mean that goes back to planning.
For sure.
Planning is extremely essential. Yes. It was definitely essential in my case because I felt like it was just so important. I studied my plans.
Yeah.
Over and over and over, so that when I got there, I didn't really have to look at them because I already knew what I was going to do. Everything flowed so much better, and the kids were just always like, "Oh, I wonder what's next," because everything was in order.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was it helped my lesson a whole lot. I mean, in a nutshell, it helped it.
Of course.
A whole lot.
Because it helps the kids pay attention.
Exactly.
Because when you're have everything ready, that's the same with me. The class was right here. And then there was a table that was just perfectly near where I was. And so whenever I would they would be working on something, I would plan that I was going to have everything lined up so that I could just go grab it and then get it ready while they were working. While they were cutting out their worksheets that I talked about that went bad, I was getting the food that I was passing out ready, pouring the drinks and stuff so that I wouldn't have to say, okay, now that y'all are doing that, now I'm going to get this ready, and y'all are just going to sit here quietly and not talk, because that is not going to work for second grade. So luckily I had everything planned out, ready to go, so that I could do it easily. And the teacher was like, that's impressive that you knew to make sure they weren't sitting by themselves, or sitting with nothing to do. So I guess that was good.
Yeah. With my planning, it was definitely very important, and I think I could have done a better job planning time because I did plan ahead that the things that we were doing might take a little too long, so we cut out some steps. We already had patterns cut out for our craft. I only left them one thing to cut, and that was straight lines. Because I figured first graders, they need to cut something, they need to do something themselves. So. And even then, it went over. We took too much time. There was so definitely I learned the value of making sure that you have enough time for everything, and planning when you're working with another teacher, you kind of need to know what their limits and their rules are because I planned to use glue, which versus a glue stick, in this particular craft, you really needed regular glue.
Right.
And to stick the little plastic eyes onto the foam, the craft foam, that a glue stick is not going to do that. Well, the teacher in my class insisted that her kids had to use the glue stick. They would make too big of a mess with the glue. So, you know, I had googly eyes falling off of snakes everywhere because they were glue sticked on.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have known ahead of time and
Right.
maybe ran it by her and gotten her to understand the
Yeah.
need for the regular glue.
Yeah.
And maybe
Or
that
maybe she could
that
have
we
given you an
can-
alternative.
or that we
Yeah.
could just dot it on there for them.
Oh, yeah, true.
And not have them handling the glue, you know. So definitely should have planned better because I just made an assumption that glue was fine.
Yeah.
You know. And if it was my own classroom, that wouldn't be an issue, but
Yeah.
definitely when you're
When you're
working
working
with
somewhere.
other
Exactly.
people, you need to have more,
Be mindful of the.
yeah, and discuss it more with them, you know, instead of
Right.
just making assumptions, so.
Right,
Awesome.
and that concludes it.